Okay, you know how usually if I think this is going to be a rant, I give you a bit of a warning that it might turn into one? Well, I can almost guarantee that this will turn into a rant. Today we're going to talk about how not to pitch to be a podcast guest. It's a big bugbear of mine that is just becoming more and more prominent as podcasting becomes more and more exposed to the masses. This, of course, is the Podcast Accelerator. I'm your host, Mark Asquith, CEO and co-founder of Rebel Base Media, where we make podcasting tools, we produce podcasting content, and we teach podcasting through our various brands, one of which is the wonderful Captivate.fm, which yesterday became the world's first podcast host to offer a full transparency mode for listeners. Listener privacy is becoming more and more important as the industry develops and changes, and I'm very proud to say that Captivate now includes complete transparency when you're using things like Chartable, Podtrack, Podcorn prefixes with your podcast. It's very, very important that the listener knows what is going on. So go and check out Captivate.fm for 7 days for a fresh look at podcast hosting at Captivate.fm. Now, I see this all the time on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. People basically saying, look, you need to have a guest strategy to be on podcasts. You as an entrepreneur, okay, let's just put a pin in that one. Entrepreneur. Most people are just small business owners. You know, like Richard Branson's an entrepreneur. But anyway, that's another bugbear for another episode. You've got to have this guest strategy. As a business person, as an entrepreneur, you must be on podcasts because it's great for you. It's great for your positioning. It's great for your brand. It's great for your leads. Get over yourself. You're not that interesting. Honestly, no one wants to hear about your business, your book, or your pitch. All right? No one really cares because that many people are doing it. So if you're going to pitch to be a guest, do it right. And I get so many wrong ones every single week. So we're going to dig into that in just 1 second. But before I do that, a quick shout out to AWeber, who make my email marketing as a podcaster so much more effective. They give me a preset onboarding campaign for anyone that signs up to my email list. So if you go and check out markasquith.com/grow to get the ebook 9 Unconventional Ways to Grow Your Podcast in 5 minutes a day, you'll see that's powered by AWeber, and you'll get some nice emails as follow-ups, just introducing you to me and the content. You could be doing the same with your listeners, all right? Go and check out AWeber for free for 30 days, markasquith.com/AWeber. So, as I mentioned, podcasts are the trendiest way for business people, quote-unquote entrepreneurs, and more to gain exposure. The trouble is many guest booking services and guests alike are taking advantage of the hosts and honestly putting out absolutely repeatable trash. So let me add some context to this. Like I said earlier, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I see all sorts of free services and paid for services popping up saying, look, we can connect you with podcasters that want inspirational business owner guests, right? Fine. I get that. Interviews are fine. Interviews are good. But we live in a busy world of podcasts now, okay? As a creator, just interviewing people ain't going to cut it because everyone is doing that. Do something to stand out. Be original. Everyone is doing that, all right? It's not like it was in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17. It's not like that anymore. It has changed. Podcasting has grown. There are so many more shows. And guess what? Now, everyone's on the podcasting bandwagon. We were in the UK very, very early. I remember being in Barnsley and Sheffield and saying I'm creating a podcasting business, and all of the digital CDI sector people laughed me out. They didn't want to support me. They didn't offer any grant funding like they did for other digital businesses. They didn't share it in their networks like they did for other digital businesses because they thought I was stupid. And what's happened is that, you know, we've been kind of ploughing that furrow for years and years and years now, since the end of 2014. Now everyone's caught up. Everyone's like, you need to be on podcasts or you need to create a podcast. But the problem is, podcasting is a creator-led medium, and it's important to understand that more than that, it's a consumer-led media. It is all about the listener. So if you send me an email or if you join a matchmaking service and say, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to be on your show, I'm a huge fan of Excellence Expected, which is what people still do. They'll say, I'm a huge fan of Excellence Expected. I'd love to be on your show. You ain't getting on. You are absolutely not getting on. And this is really what... It's frustrating because so many of these new guest booking services, that are, a lot of the free ones in particular, are just telling people that. They're just telling people, email the host, put yourself out there, develop a pitch, and just say the same thing to every single host. It's rubbish. You can't do that. You cannot do that. So I get so many pitches every single week saying, I want to be on Excellence Expected, which is my old brand, old brand. I want to be an excellence expected. I'm a big fan of the show. And by the way, my CEO or me, if I'm the CEO, I would make a great addition to the episode because I've got so much experience in manufacturing and I've got amazing talents in building a team. I'm like, what is this? Like, okay, first of all, which episode is your favourite? You said you're a big fan. Number 2, excellence expected. Wrong brand, kid. You know, so you've got to get up to date with certain things. You can't lie. Podcast hosts know their shows inside out. If you send an email to someone saying, I'm a big fan of the show, you better believe that they are going to want to know what episode, and in particular, what about that episode you liked. All right? Do your due diligence as a guest. Importantly, if you're going to guest on shows, this is not just an exposure tool for you. Get over yourself. All right? Get over yourself. As a podcast host, no one cares about the fact that you want positioning, all right? We want content. We want guests, okay? We do want that. But you aren't anything special if you're just running your business, you're doing what you do. You know, go and do something truly special, you know, something truly difficult. Like running a business is not, you know, you're not having to overcome that much adversity doing it. It's just running a business, all right? It is what it is. You like doing it. You get paid for it. Fine, okay? Your story is not that special. And just pitching like it is, pitching in a way that, you know, where people are expected to want you to be on their show because you're a big fish in a small pond. It ain't gonna cut it. It ain't gonna cut it. So what you've got to do, the guest strategy that I wish these guest services would promote, is you have to be specific per podcast. Like, I rarely do interviews on the Podcast Accelerator, but if someone truly spectacular came to me, and I'm not talking a big name or a big entrepreneur or a big celebrity, but someone with a really good story in podcasting or a really good case study came along and said, Marco, listen, I know you did on episode 107, you talked about meetups for your podcast. Well, look, I've actually done a meetup for my podcast for the last 3 years, and here are the results that it's seen and that I've had with it on my podcast, and look at what it's done to the numbers and to my business. Do you want to talk about that on the show? Yes, of course I do. Like, that is contextual. But just listening to these guest booking services, especially the free ones in particular, just saying, create a pitch, go and promote your book. If you're an entrepreneur, you must be on podcasts. No, it's a listener medium first. It's a creator medium second. And it's a guest medium third. Sadly, you are down the pecking order. So if you want to be good as a guest, if you want to be a great guest, put your time in, research every single show and customize your pitch. Listen to that show, customize what you could say on that show. Don't just do the same old crap, peddling your book, peddling your free course, any of that rubbish. Don't bother with that because podcasting has changed. Just like blogging has changed and YouTube has changed. The things that worked 5 years ago don't work as well now. Don't be one of those pain in the backside guests that has just discovered podcasting and thinks, wow, this is my way of gaining more exposure. No, wrong. Sorry, that ain't going to work, all right? So you got to put the effort in. Please put the effort in if you're going to be a guest, because remember, as a producer, you might turn up for an hour and be a guest, but that producer, that podcast host, is putting in at least 3 hours of work for every single episode. So you cannot turn up for 1 hour unprepared, and you cannot pitch a templated method for every single podcast. Do your due diligence, be a decent person about it, and do not take podcasting for granted. Rant done. Cheers for that. Whew, needed to get that off my chest. Listen, thanks for joining me. I'm going to vacate the studio. We've got a podcast website's member call in here in just a few minutes. So until the next time, thanks for joining me. Please do share this with people that you think would benefit from it. And of course, check out Captivate.fm for your hosting. And until the next time, never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.